Hello, hi everyone. It's good to be back. Long time no see. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hi, hi. It's good. Sorry, just a bit of echo here and there. And how's everyone doing? I saw the Linux one that was going on previously. I think it was good. I like the excitement in the chat. Everyone was just so much into it. I definitely love that vibe that was happening. So, for those who are here for the first time, my name is Utkarsh. I go by UT. Okay, just like initials. Makes it easy to remember, definitely. And I've taken few streams in the past. Today, I'm going to take a stream on APIs, of course. Right. So, what are we going to do? So, we are going to basically build a Node.js aka Express.js API. Secondly, please ignore any background sound. I'm back in India right now, and yeah, a bit of noise here and there. Just please focus on my stream. Definitely, I'll be as loud as possible, and I'll try to just suppress the background noise. Hello, hello, hello. It's all replets today. Oh, I don't know. Was there any other Ripples before this? I am not sure. The Linux one was not on Ripple as far as I remember. But other than that, okay. So now that we have everyone joining in, quite a good number, I'll quickly start. Okay, not directly into the code part. Okay, first let's start with the bare minimum, which is registration. Okay, I see quite a few familiar names. So I remember Zainal. I remember Samrid, I think. Uh, I don't know if I'm confusing, but I definitely remember Zainal. So, step one, please register. Okay, so you can register for this API of basically building API for the job board. Okay, here on this link. I have highlighted it, I've pasted it in chat. Please quickly register. Once you are done with that, okay, we are going to basically talk about a bit about what is this Node.js thing, what is this API Express, and yeah, like lots and lots of things. Are we going to use React as well? So in my previous streams, I had used React. Okay, and we have built the job board, which I'm going to show basically before we get started with the API part. I'm going to show what we had built. Now the prerequisite knowledge of joining that stream is not required. This is like completely separate, but just to give you an idea of the flow, I'm just going to show what the React one looked like. uh, Not very beautiful to be frank, but it works. That's what matters, right? It works, that's what matters. And I'm just going to quickly show you how our React project was built, and why we have the need to build an API. Okay, but once again, let me be clear to everyone who is joining here. I'm going to show some React thing which is not a prerequisite for this stream. It's just to show the flow. Okay, so few more people have joined in. Once again, hi everyone. Good morning somewhere, good afternoon here. I'm pretty sure there's good evening somewhere. Okay, hope we'll be deploying as well. uh, Interesting question. So If you have joined me in the previous streams, you know I am a big fan of this website called as Replit, which is just amazing. Okay, does not give all the fuss about installing and everything. So we are going to build it on Replit. You're not going to deploy it. So sorry about that. But I think on Replit, once you have an idea, it's kinda deployed. Okay. It's kind of deployed. There's a question in the stream. Can a complete beginner watch the stream? Yes, you can, definitely. And everyone else, going by my motto, if you already know half the stuff, or maybe all of the stuff that we are going to look at today, I would still request you that please stay back. Okay, stay back and help others who are looking forward to learn. Stay back, help in the community. That's what matters a lot. Okay, so so we have most of the people here. Once again, hi everyone, I'm UT and we are going to get started. Are we using Node.js? We are using a framework. We are going to use a framework of Node.js called as Express. uh, we'll come to it, don't worry. Okay, so just to give you the flow of what we are going to do. Step number one, create an account on Replit. Okay, very much necessary if you want to do hands-on coding with me. Okay, I have posted the link in the chat. You can see that. Pretty simple to create an account there. Just go on the website, click on sign up, click on sign in with Google or GitHub. I think there's an option, and that's it. Okay, that's it. After you are done with that, you will find that you will have a very similar setup without all the bells and whistles and all the fuss to code along, which is, I think, can I not follow along locally without Replit? Yes, you can follow. It's just like you will have to install a bunch of stuff, which I reframe because tools and technologies can change. It's the fundamentals that matter a lot. Okay, this is something that you'll hear lots and lots and lots of time. Okay, you have to create a REPL first. Yes, I'm going to definitely. Okay, so as I was saying, tools and technologies, they keep changing. You can do it in local definitely, but to learn about it, I think REPL is good. Why? Because it's just quick and easy, and uh, not a paid promotion for REPL definitely here. Okay, so moving on. If you had joined me in the previous GHW, we had built a job board website, completely front end, built on React. Okay. Again, it was fairly simple, not a very good design, but it worked. That's what mattered, definitely. Okay. Now, from that work thingy, what we are going to do today is right now, I'm going to show you that React website. It's not a prerequisite. I am stressing on this so much. Okay, stressing on this so much, but yeah, not a prerequisite, but get the flow. So let's go to our past one. That was a job board website. Now let it load. It's going to load, it's going to run, it's going to take a bit of time. uh, let's just hold on. Okay, I think after a month it just uninstalls everything. But oh wow, this is ready. Is this ready? Is it showing ready? Okay, no, it's still installing a bit of bunch of things. Once that's done, we'll have, yep. Okay, so this is what our job board actually looked like. Okay, at the end of our session. Okay, so there was a hero section. There was these there were these cards where we were putting in images, title, company name, a job link, and then we had used grid react to make this table, and there was a footer. Now, when we were doing all of this, what we had done was we created a data for jobs.js file, a JavaScript file, which basically had all our data in it. Okay, it had all the data like this image, this job title one, company name one, remote, job link. All these were in that data file. And once we hover over, let's say, like job link, it is going to go there. There's job title one, there's company one, there's remote. So basically, the data was coming from this data for jobs.js. Now, this was on the front end. We want to take this on the back end, or what people say as server side. We want to take this on the server side. Now, server side, what is this new term? What does that even mean? And what are we doing with that? So, now step number one. Basically, first, let's talk about what is a server. Okay, even though it sounds scary sometimes, it is basically a computer program. Okay, you can think of it as a computer program that is running on a separate computer, a separate device, and it has all the resources, it has all the files that you ask it. It stores that files on that central computer. And whenever you request for that file, that hey, give me the logo for company name one, or give me the data of the first job, it sends over that data over the network. Okay, now there are multiple types of servers, like multiple types of servers. There is a web server, which is what we are going to build today. So what is a web server? It sends web pages over the network. Okay, there is a database server. A database server, what does that do? It basically provides database services. So there are different types of databases you might be knowing. There's MongoDB, there is Microsoft SQL Server. Okay, so different kinds of databases are there, and a database server basically allows you to, yeah, has this database service or app running on their computer. There's MySQL also, and all those things. Then there are something called as a file server. A file server, it basically allows you to access or manage the access to different files, okay, shared files among different computers, different people on different computers. There's email server, the Gmail, the Yahoo Mail. I don't know if anyone ever uses Yahoo Mail anymore. I think some people might. I do definitely. So there's Gmail, there's Yahoo Mail, all these types of different email uh, clients have email servers, which basically manages and delivers emails to whatever computer asks for that, or you want to send it from this computer to that computer. uh, that happens via these email servers, and multiple. Okay, so this is what basically a server means. Okay, so now that you have seen the past React stream, from our React stream, the job board, we are basically going to build a Node.js server to send us this data. So instead of this data for jobs.js file, it will be coming over the network. Okay, so I'm going to just stop this, and I'm going to go back on the home page. Once again, that was not a prerequisite, but wanted you to show what we had done in the past, so that you can focus, or make links between, okay, the past one and the present one. Okay, so coming back, once you are on the same page as I am, uh, okay, let me also quickly scan the chat if I miss something. uh, Source code of React website name job board. I think Zainal has shared the REPL. Aren't we going to build it from scratch? We are going to build the API from scratch. Do we have recording of these streams? Yes, it is on YouTube. Go on YouTube, search for Major League Hacking or MLH. Go to the channel, go to the live tab. I think it's called as live. And on that tab, you'll see all the streams that have been happening. Okay, perfect. So seems like everyone who has stayed back, they have solved each other's issues. Love it. Now moving on, let's start the no Express.js thingy. Okay, the thing that I keep talking about. uh, First we'll basically open a template. Okay, so what you have to do, once you have created an account on Replit, go to the templates. Okay, once you go to the templates, click on this search template box. It's big and bold and visible. Okay, search templates and search for Node. So there are two templates for Node. Template number one, which is basically this one, uh, Node.js with a tick mark, which basically says it's verified. And then there's this live coding in Node.js. When I was preparing for this session, I used this one. It's good. That's like the Node.js thing works, but you have to stop and start every time you make a change, which kind of bogged me. And then I came back and I searched, and then I found this one, live coding in Node.js. I hope it's visible to you all. Live coding in Node.js. Uh, it has 7.8k uses, 16 likes, and the author, let me try and pronounce the name properly, Amsad, has gracefully given us this environment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the live coding in Node.js template. Why? Because we make a change, we don't have to click on that big green start and stop button every time we make a change. So we are going to go with the live coding one. Once you click on that, let me make this a bit smaller. Click on this use template option. Okay, so once you click on the use template, it tells you to give a name and a description. Now, name and description, I would say, please give a name and please give a description. In the past, if you may recall, in my previous stream, I was talking about how I deleted bunch of stuff because I did not give it a name. So always give a proper name, which is understandable. Give a proper description, which is understandable to you, because you think you may remember, but you definitely will forget. Okay, so what is this? So we are going to build job board API Express.js. Okay, for GHW. I mean, I'm giving this, it's such a long name. You can give it whatever name you want, but understandable. Uh, Learn to build a simple API using Express.js. Simple, right? And we can click on the use template. I am guessing the live coding template has integrated NodeMon into their runs. Possibly. Okay, possibly. Uh, but yeah, if it's there, it's good for us. So, first of all, we'll again, if at any point you feel like I'm taking it too slow, just stay back. Hopefully, you'll learn something new. But this is for people who are very much beginner to what is this whole thing about. Okay, so first of all, Node.js. We searched for the word node. We clicked on the template of live coding in Node.js, and we added a name, a description. We used that template. All that is fine. What is Node? What is this Node thing that everyone is talking about? So Node.js, it's a computer program, simple, which allows you to run JavaScript on your computer. Now, in the past, basically before 2008, I think, yeah, you could only run JavaScript on a web browser. So only on Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, you were able to use JavaScript. But then this person, Ryan Dahl, uh, he came along and he said, okay, I want to run Node.js outside of the browser. What is the meaning of outside of the browser? It basically means I want to run it the way I'm running it locally on my Mac, let's say, or on my Windows, on my Linux, anywhere. I should be able to basically download a program uh, from the Node.js website and double click on it, and I should be able to run Node without having the browser being the interface in between. So Ryan Dahl created Node.js. Now with Node.js, now you can write JavaScript on the server side. And how is this helpful? On the front side, okay, on the browser, you see JavaScript. Let's say you learn JavaScript. But now to write the backend, you would have to learn a different language, Python, Java, or maybe right now Rust is popular. Uh, you would have to learn something different and then integrate between two. But with JavaScript, if you learn it for the front end, you can use the same JavaScript knowledge for the back end. Some bits here and there, of course. Uh, but you can use that same knowledge, and that's how it was helpful to have JavaScript running on the backend on the server side. Okay, now that is Node.js. Okay, computer program allows you to write JavaScript on the backend and run it, not the backend, let's say, allows you to write JavaScript away from your browser, execute JavaScript away from your browser. Now, what is Express here? So Express, it's a framework of Node.js. Now think of a framework as a collection of uh, code which you like, which people call APIs. Okay, think of Express as APIs, uh, multiple things which make your life easier. So Ryan Dahl had already made our life easy by ensuring that we can write JavaScript on the server side, on the backend, away from the browser. But then this developer, I'll try to pronounce the name, TJ uh, Hollowaychuk. I'm so sorry. There's someone at the door, which is interesting. I'm back. I'm back. I'm back. So sorry about that. As I said, I'm back home. People keep visiting. All those things keep happening. So, but no worries. Uh, no, you did not miss anything, definitely. We were talking about Express.js, and I was trying to pronounce the name of the creator of Express. So, Node.js was created and kind of publicly became available in, I think, 2009. And in 2010, like within a year, TJ Holloway Chuck, uh, might be a bit here and there, but I think that's the name. Created Express.js in 2010. And what he wanted was that, okay, Node.js is good. Can we make it better for people who don't want to remember a ton of stuff? Can we basically make these APIs, okay, which is basically collection of code. Okay, so instead of writing 10 lines, you write one line, okay, or maybe two. That's how easy it made. So Express.js, it's a framework around Node.js. Now, is Express the only framework around Node? No, there are a ton. Okay, things that I remember off the top of my mind, which I made a note of, was Koa, Koa. Now, the same people who built Express.js also built Koa. Okay, so there's Node.js, which is doing the heavy lifting. Then there's Express.js, a lightweight alternative to Node.js. Okay, and then there's Koa, which is a lightweight alternative to Express.js. Okay, so what is the meaning of this lightweight? There are some code changes, definitely. Then it also allows you, like, they remove some functionalities which is not really required, which you can add on the fly as you need it. Basically add the minimum, which is good enough for most of the work. Then there's a Sales.js. So Sales.js, it's a Node.js framework built on top of Express.js. So Node on that Express, on that is built Sales.js. And it has functionalities like real-time communication and automated testing inbuilt. So you don't have to really now add another library. Okay, it's just inbuilt. Yes, there's Meteor.js, definitely. What Axios? Axios, I wouldn't say it's not a framework for web server. Okay, Axios is a library which allows you to send request or get a response back. That's what Axios does. Okay, which we will see in the due course. Okay, so I hope that was clear. What is Node.js? What is Express.js? Express.js is not the only framework of Node.js, definitely. Gaming Skull 16 suggested a Meteor.js, which is there. There's Koa, there's Sales. I think there's Nest.js also. Uh, and yeah, many more. Many more. Then why are we proceeding with Express.js when we have Sales.js? So Express.js, we are not using sales because we are not going to do any real-time communication in our system. We are not writing end-to-end testing, so I did not think that would be helpful. Secondly, once you learn Express.js, the idea kind of is similar across the board. Okay, because Koa, if it's built by the same people as Express, you'll find similar ideas being propagated. Sales built on top of Express, similar ideas being propagated. Okay, that's why we are learning the Express.js, the thing that is built on top. We are learning Node.js in a way. Okay, but yeah, definitely not writing it right now. Now, once all of that is done, let's come back. Okay, let's come back to our replit. So I hope you all have reached to this stage. I have not made any changes, and I just want you all to reach this stage. When I say this stage, I mean, please ensure that you see this hello world, hello live world. Okay, so if you have reached till this stage, what we are going to do is we are basically going to run this, and once we run it, it's going to do some stuff. Oh, look, it's using nodemon. So someone in the chat had pointed out. Okay, yep, this is using nodemon definitely. And hello live world, you can see that printed. Now instead of hello live world, so what's the difference? So if instead of hello live world, which we go like hello GHW, I don't have to click on this stop and start again. It just happens magically on the right hand side. Okay. Uh, okay, doke. So once we are here, let's start building. So we are using Express.js. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you something which I really frequent a lot of time, and that is called as documentation. Okay. So I'm going to share the documentation, should be visible on your screen pretty soon. And this is the documentation for Express.js. And we are just blindly going to copy whatever is written here. Okay, initially. Okay, we are just going to copy whatever is written here. We are going to go back to our code, and we are going to basically delete the console log and paste this thing. Okay, now once that happens, you should see some error. Once you have copied that, go back to your replit, and on your replit just paste it. As simple. Copy the code from Express.js website, come here, delete everything that is there, and just paste whatever you copied. And once you do that, things are going to break. If it doesn't break, well, that's a miracle. But if it breaks, then we are on the right path. Why do I say right path? Because see the error. It says module not found. Okay, it's trying to find something, but it is not able to. So I'm going to just click on the stop and click on run again, and now it's going to see install npm install express. It's going to install express for us. Once it installs express, then we will have hello world being shown on the right with the web view. Okay, so the documentation, let me share that. Yes, definitely I should share it in the chat, and it's there in the chat. So once you click on this link, you will go to the Express.js documentation. Once you reach the documentation, uh, you will have the first option as hello world example. Copy everything that's there. Okay, once you have copied everything, come back to your uh, replit, delete everything that's there and paste it. Once you have pasted it, click on stop and then click on start again. It is going to basically install uh, what do you call express. Yes, it's going to install express. Once it has installed express, then it will show you this hello world. Now what is happening here? I'm going to take like 1 minute and let everyone reach this stage. Once you have reached this stage, we can like go ahead. Now I'm also taking it a bit slow because again, for anyone who's new to Express, first thing. Second thing, I have two streams today, back to back, kind of, with 1 hour break in between. So anything that we are not able to cover right now, we'll cover it in the second stream. But at the end of these two streams, uh, we'll have a working server which basically sends the data And I mean, by sending the data, we are able to view the data. We are able to send a request and receive a response. What is this request or response? Let's see. So line number 1, this is where you are basically telling it that use express. Okay, where is this express coming from? In, if you go to your package json, you'll find it in the dependencies. It has been installed in the dependencies. There would be a node modules folder, and from there it is basically telling it, hey, please use this express library that we have installed. That's the first line. And the library, we are basically we are using a variable to call the library, storing it in this. Now we are creating another variable. Now this is more of a standard. Every any open source project that you see, you'll always find this name, word app, where instead of using express everywhere, they're using, instead of using like 33617, okay, so 7 letters, they're using 3. So this is where you are defining that, okay, we are taking everything that is being given by express, okay, and you can see the description if you hover over it. uh, the express, it creates an express application. Okay, since it's an application, short form is app. Then you define the port. Okay, now port is where this should run. Okay, which port is should be opened to any request that should be received. Now, you can give this any name you want, like any number. Now, there are few ports that are reserved by your system. So, if you are running this locally, you'll find like sometimes it will say port 5000 is already in use, port 6000 is already in use. Okay, so ports are where an application runs on a machine, and not all ports are open. So you can, like, you can write a random number, but you can rest assured it's possible that something is already running on that port. Example, my SQL has port number of 3306. Okay, so if you're running this, if you have MySQL installed on your machine, like on your Windows laptop or MacBook or any other laptop, and if you have MySQL up and running, okay, and at the same time you try to change this port to 330, what did I say, 6, yeah, 3306, it is basically going to give you an error. It will say that, hey, 3306 is already in use. So port number defines where you want to run your application. Let's go with port 5000. Why? Because your React application, it runs on port 3000. Your front end, normally your React application runs on port 3000, and so you can make the server run on port 5000. That's it. Okay, now let me go back. 3001. uh, I'm confused right now. 3000 or 3001? But yeah, somewhere around there. There's a question, what Mac do you use? So it's a 13-inch model that I remember. uh, and it's 2019 or 2020 Mac, I think. Okay, yeah, something around that time. So it's basically the one with the, instead of function keys, it has that LCD. Okay, the touchpad, that touch LCD, which was just removed after I bought it. The touch bar, yeah, the touch bar. Uh, and it was removed just after I bought this Mac. Yeah, I have MacBook Pro. Uh, okay, enough about my MacBook. Let's come back. So now you know what is this port number, and yeah, these are the first 3 lines. Now let's go to the next line. So the first line, like the not the first line, the fifth line here is app.get. What is this app? App is basically our variable which is handling the Express, all the functionalities or the functions, inbuilt functions of Express. Okay, so app and Express has a method which is called as get. So app dot get. Okay, what is a get? To understand get, you have to understand uh, requests in general. So when you open a website, okay, when you open the website, what you're doing is you're basically telling your system that, hey, get me this website. Let's say we are opening google.com. Okay, so on your system, on your laptop, you're opening a browser. On that browser, in the browser, you're typing google.com, you hit enter. What happens is that is a request. You're basically requesting for the page google.com, the home page of google.com, and then you send the request goes over your their ISP. It goes over to wherever this google.com page is stored, wherever the server is listening for, hey, is someone asking for google.com, is someone asking for google.com, anyone. And then suddenly it receives a request that, hey, I'm asking for google.com. It says, okay, let me give you the page. Okay, let me give you the HTML page of google.com, and it gives a response. It sends that file over the network to me. And once the browser receives that file, it knows how to read it. It knows, okay, the first line should be doc type HTML, and there's the HTML opening, and then there's closing. Oh, this is how this file is structured. The web browser reads that particular file, it structures it how the code is written, and it gives you the output, and it shows you the web page. It adds the CSS, it adds the JavaScript functionalities, and you're able to see the whole thing. Even this replit.com, okay, of course, you sent a request for replit.com, and it returned everything that it had to. Okay, basically, it returned, okay, on the home page, this is how it should look, this is how it's structured, this is the HTML, this is the CSS, and this is the JavaScript functionalities. Let it come here, and you have it. Okay, so that is what a request and response means. You request for something and you receive a response in return. Now, with a response, if it's a successful response, there are something called as HTTP codes. Okay, what are HTTP codes? It's basically everyone decided that, hey, if you say success is like give a number for success. Someone said, okay, number one is success. Someone said, no, I want to use number 10 for success, because that's my lucky number. Someone said, okay, I want to use number 55 because that's my lucky number, or maybe that's my age, so I want to use that number as a success. So there was this confusion. So people said, okay, let's standardize this. Okay, let's standardize this, and we are going to say that, okay, if a response is number 200, it means it's a successful response. If it's 404, it means it is not found. If there is response which is related to error 500, 500 or 500, excuse me, 500, I think. So there's this internal server error. Okay, I have to look over what are the uh, codes, HTTP codes every time. But that's how they standardized it. They said, okay, this number means this number means this number means this, and everyone was happy. There was a standard. Okay, and not everyone had to think, okay, I received a 200 number, what does that mean? Does that mean it's successful? Did it fail? Did my website go like run away somewhere? What's happening? Did my server crash? What's happening? So now you know, if there's a 200, that means it's success. Okay, so coming back, so we have request, we have response, you understood that. Now there's something called as a get request. So when you say a get request, you're basically like the verb get. Okay, get that. get me that. Okay, that's as simple as I can explain it. It's like plain English, get. There are other things also. There are uh, post. Okay, so there's something called as like get, which you see right here. There's post, there's patch, put, delete. We're going to look at few of them, not all of them definitely, but I'm going to show it to you where you can get more information about it. Okay, so we have the request and we have the response. We know what's get. Now what does this slash mean? So a slash means home. Okay, the base URL, as you can say it. That, okay, if there is a URL, like example on your screen, you must be seeing on the top in your Google Chrome or Firefox the URL. So there's replit.com slash your name slash something something. Okay, now if you remove all of that and you go to the main page, the replit.com, that's the home page or the base URL. So a slash means, okay, this is the base URL. If everything else is failing, we are going to go to the base URL and we are going to check from that base URL. Okay, we'll add things after that base URL. So slash is basically our base URL. So what is happening here? We are doing app.get, and uh, that is going to take something like what URL you want to hit, and then there is a callback of request and response, and you can say a function. And the first is request, and then there's response, and there's an arrow function here, and it is basically sending the response. So res.send. Okay, now instead of req, you can go like request, response, and here you can go like response, and that should work. So you can call it whatever you want, but just understand that this is kind of a standard req res. Anyone who looks at the code, they will know, okay, the first parameter is the request. Okay, the second parameter is the response. You can call it alpha and beta, wouldn't matter, but stick to the standards. And here we have the send, and we are sending hello world, which is what is being seen here on the website. Now, how does, like, if I remove the last line, you will see that nothing works. Even though I have everything here, it is not going to show. Okay, if I like look at the console, there's nothing being printed here. Okay, how does it know which port to listen to? If I refresh this, you'll see that now nothing is being shown. How will it know where to listen for the request or for the home page? Where do I go and listen for the request to the home page? So that is what the next lines say. So it says that now in Express, okay, as you can see, in Express there is a listen. Okay, what is a listen? If you hover over it, it tells you it listens for connections. And when it listens for connections, it basically says that, okay, uh, I am listening to a particular port number. Which port number do you want it to listen? We are telling it, okay, listen to port 5000. Okay, so that port gets opened. Once that port is open, now we have a empty callback function. We are basically saying that console log example app listening on port and port number. Okay, this is JavaScript backticks, uh, where it just allows you string concatenation easily. We can change this. We can say server live on port 5000. Interestingly, something broke here because it doesn't look good enough. Something happened to hmm, the font that changed. I have really no idea. Okay, I think that was just a glitch. Server live on. Okay, perfect. So this is what has happened till now. Okay, now you can see we are listening on a particular port number, and we are basically telling it that, okay, you can just print this out there, which is fine. Now let me go back to the comments. uh, how can I upload the project from Replit to GitHub? uh, I think there's an option there, or you can just copy paste. Definitely. uh, I have done the setup in how to start the server. Type node index.js. Just run the code. Assuming install Express first. Working now. Okay, that's good. That's good. Uh, hmm. Perfect. Good stuff happening in the chat. I think you folks are just making it easy for everyone else. Definitely. Okay, so now that we have taken our own sweet time to exactly understand these 11 minus 2, okay, 9 lines of code right here, uh, let's go and build some stuff. Okay, let's go and add a few things. So, step number one. Now you have this line. What if I let's okay, everyone, attention here. We are going to just ping around with some things. Okay, we are going to work with some stuff, see how it's working, see how the output looks like, and understand some basics. Then we are going to take a break. When we come from the break, we will start working on something different. Basically, start building the job API, and then yeah, let's see after that. So I'm going to copy this line 5 to line 7, and I'm going to just paste it below, and I'm going to type goodbye world. If I do that, what is happening here? We are saying that listen to the base. Okay, listen to the base and send the response as hello world. But then I'm saying, okay, listen to the base URL and send the response as goodbye world. What is going to be printed? It's printing hello world. Okay, now let me take these lines and let me paste it above this. Now it's going to print goodbye world. So understand that step number one to understand here is line by line execution. If your server is going to listen for request on the same base URL, it's going to find the first instance of that base URL, and it is going to send whatever response that you told it to send. So you told it to send goodbye world, it will send that, and that's it. That's where it stops. It does not go down and see, checks or searches for any other response, any other. Okay, there's another base URL like with the same name, and now let's send hello world. No. When rest.send happens, that's where it draws the line. Okay, that's where it stops basically. So you need to just remember that once we reach the base, like if there are multiple base URL with the same name, you need to have only one of them. Let's create a third one after this. We'll now, instead of copy paste, we'll do app. We are going to make a get request. uh, let's call this URL as slash my new URL. Okay, we are now let let's tell it to accept a request and send a response. Add a function here, and we are going to send rest.send utnghw. Woohoo! Okay, that's what we are going to send. Now, do you see any changes happening? Well, not right now, definitely. There's the get request, there is this thing, and we are sending, it's saying goodbye world. No problem. Let's go back on the right hand side in the web view, and can we try and okay, not this one. Ignore this. You can click on this open in new tab option on the web view. Once you click on open in new tab, you should reach a new tab where you can see this whole thing, this whole uh, web view. Okay. Now, once you have reached there, also let me, I think I need to stop sharing and share everything so that it's just easy for you to see the next bits. Perfect. Now I'm sharing basically everything just for the moment. Okay. Not for long. So what changes have we done? So we have basically created a new get route. Okay, it's called a route. Some people call it a route, and I forgot to add this to stream. Nice. So we have created a new route or the new route, and the new route it's called as slash my new URL, and it will send a response UTNGHW. So after that, I told you all that please go on this web view and click on this open in new tab option. Once you click on that open in new tab option, it should open in new tab as it says. And here you can go like slash uh, my new URL. And that's it. I just added slash my new URL in the URL bar on my Chrome, and it's returning me this response. It's great, right? Now I can create as many routes as I want. I can create my new URL too and call it MLHGHW. And here I can go and say my new URL to MLHGHW. Let's also see the network request and response. So let me just clear the cache and everything. So once you do that, look at this status 200. Okay. That means it was like 200 with a green, it's success. Then this in page 200, okay. Request method get. Do I have a request method here? Yes, it has a request method of get. Favicon.ico. Sadly, there was no fav icon assigned. So it said 404 with a red. Failed. Okay. So that's where the status comes into picture. Helps you like quickly see, okay, this was successful, this failed, what happened, what is the type. So we are sending in a text, right? It's type the whole page is of the type document. See the content type, it's text HTML. This whole page text HTML. Okay, that's what's being returned. So basically you get an idea now uh, what is coming in from the requests. Okay, and yeah, that's basically it. Now you know how to create a get request, and now you know how to send a text response, which is I think good. Okay, let me just stop sharing and let's go back to the stream and let me just present. So I don't have my extra, what do you call, monitor, which is why this stop and start and stop and start. Perfect. So what's there in chat? Very nice explanation. Wow, thank you so much. And is your name Ryan? No, my name is UT. And perfect. Now that we have a get request, which is up and running, up and working, it's time for a quick break. Okay, so we will be back in around, I think, 10 minutes. Okay, so let's be back in 10 minutes. When did we send a fav icon? We did not. We did not, which is why the 404. Uh, okay, let's be back in 10 minutes and then we'll continue from there. So see you in 10 minutes. Bye bye. Like, not bye bye. 10 minutes. Okay, we'll be back in 10 minutes. Let me just add a banner here quickly. Perfect. So back in 10 minutes. I'll keep updating it after like 5 minutes. Okay. Cool. Hello, hello. We are not back. That's fine. Saw a bunch of questions that were happening. So I thought, okay, let me just quickly try and answer a few of them. Okay. So let me just change this back in 2 minutes. Okay. So, yeah, still not back completely, but let's answer a few questions. Hmm. Okay, so there's this one question. What is the point of using that dollar port, basically a variable, if we are just using that 5,000? Why not just write 5,000? Very valid question. Okay, very valid question. But the difference is different places. Okay, so once you try to host your website, okay, uh, let me just quickly show that. So once you try to host your website, you will create something called as an environment variable. What is an environment variable? Environment variable is basically a env file, a .env file. Okay, example, another types of dot files, there's like dot git ignore. Same way you'll have a .env file. In that .env file, uh, it is very simple. In a .env file, I don't think I can create one here. Okay, but it's basically like, think of it as a text file. Okay, in that text file you define something, and like there's a key, there's a value. So port equals to, let's say, 3000, and then you host your website. Whatever like whatever web service that you use to host your website, there you create another .env file where you say, okay, I want this to listen to port 80. Okay, in your local you want it to listen to port uh, 5000. Why? Because something is already running on port 80. So you are telling it that, okay, listen to port 5000 in the local and listen to port 80 on the web server where it's hosted on. So let's say you host it on Vercel, or as you said, I don't think you can host on Vercel. I'm not sure right now. There's Heroku. If you host your Node.js on Heroku, you tell it that, okay, listen to port 80. Now you will not keep changing everything every time you're making your code on your local, and then you're pushing it, that you will have to remember that, okay, change the port number, change this, change that. So you will create this env file, and then you can say there's something called as process dot env dot port, and you can do a or here. So now, with what does this line say? It says that, okay, uh, check for the env file and check for the port variable in that. Okay, check for env file and check for the port variable, and if there is a port number which is defined, then use that port number, else just use the port 5000. Okay, so that's what it means, and that is why you need the variable there. So we did not use it because apparently Replit does not allow you to create. Okay, now that's like 2 minutes is free. Okay, perfect. uh, Welcome back, everyone. We were discussing about why have we created one static variable for port when we are just using one value for it, which is 5000. So I was telling that uh, you could actually create different port numbers wherever you have deployed, and you create a env file. In that you say port, all caps, let's say port equals to 3000 or 3001. So now you can create a variable and you can say that use process.env.port. If this is if this exists, use whatever number is there. Else, like, or sorry, not else, or use 5,000. Okay, that's what this line means. So in this all capital port, like this all port equals to whatever you will define it, let's say 6151. Okay, whatever number you decide, you can write it there and pray that it's an empty port. So now your server, your Node Express server, it's going to first listen for the request on that particular port. If that does not exist, it's going to listen to request on port 5000. I hope that clears it. Perfect. So where is the env file? So it's not there, but in future if you create one, so when I'm trying to create a env file, it is not allowing me to. But normally you would create it like port equals to 6100. Okay, something like that we can do. But instead of env, it should start with .env. You can create, I think there's a mistake here. It says you can create, but it's not allowing me to. Okay, so let's delete this. But yeah, that's the idea. Hopefully that was clear to everyone. And I don't know why this keeps running here and there. Okay, web view was on top, console was on bottom. Perfect. We're back to the setup that we had. And this is what it looks like. We had sent a bunch of get requests. We know now how to create a get request and create an endpoint and all those things. Now, before we move on to the job board one, I would also like to talk about one most important thing: how many ports we can put in env file. uh, you would want, for one, think of it as a variable. For one variable you want one value, so one key, one value. uh Uh-oh, I think I opened the rabbit hole with env file. So think of it as a different file, okay, where you define all the constants like port or uh, API key or stuff like that. No need to worry about it. Not a part of what we are doing today. Just ignore it because you're not going to face it very early. Once you start building this, you will realize the need for it, the importance. So just ignore it for now. And we are going to keep it like this for now. Perfect. Forget about env file, because so env file, it's just like a file. It's a file. It's yeah, it's a file which is called as environment file, where you store environment variables. And an environment variable, your system reads that environment variable, and whatever value is there for that environment variable, it takes that value, it reads that value. Now the env file, the .env file, you don't share it with people, you don't push it on GitHub. Okay, you don't do that. Why? Because then it's just like useless. You store secret things, safe things, secret stuff in your env file. Okay, that's what you do in a .env file. You store secrets that you don't want people to know. Let's say you paid for some Google credits. So Google gives you a API key, which is a random number of, let's say, 32 digits. Now you paid for it. You don't want other people to use it. So you will create a .env file. You will not push this .env file to GitHub or Bitbucket or anywhere. And you will give it a key. You will call it my Google API, and you'll do a equal to, and then whatever that 32 digit thing was, you'll add that. Now, anywhere you want to use it, you will say process.env dot my Google API key. Okay, that's how you call that variable. So when you push your code to GitHub, people will see that, okay, there is process.env dot my Google API key, but what is the value of that? No one knows. Okay, no one can see. They just know that you have stored this safely, secretly somewhere. That's how I can explain it in an easy manner. uh, it's just very difficult when you are not able to create it and then you are trying to explain it, but I hope that helps. Perfect. Now, one thing that I wanted to talk about is something called as course issue. Okay, course. So what is this course error? So browsers have this security measure which says that you should not try to access something which is not yours. I mean, that's the motto in life. You should not have something which is not yours. Browser says the same. Okay, what's the difference? So browser says that, hey, this is like, let's say your website is uh, like ut.com. Okay, so that's, let's say my homepage is ut.com, and I'm trying to request for a resource which is on abc dot com. Can't see. Oh no, I'm talking about Coursera. I'm not showing anything right now. I'm talking about Coursera. So the example is, let's say my website is ut.com, and I am trying to access another website on the server side. I'm trying to send a request and receive a response from a website which is, let's say, abc.com. Now, the domain names are different. If the domain names are different, browser says, are you sure you're allowed to send this request? Okay. Are you sure you're allowed to send this request and receive a response? Okay. So remember our request response thingy? What was happening was, we send a request to google.com from our laptop, and the server sends back the HTML file which our browser reads and understands. Now, what if Google said that if and only if you are on the same domain as me, you have the same domain name as me, then and only then I'm going to give you that HTML file, else I'm going to block it. So that is what happens most of the times. You basically say that in your server, you say that I'm going to only allow people who are on the same domain as me to access this resource, which is default behavior. So browser understands that. Browser tells that, okay, ut.com cannot communicate with abc.com, not allowed. But to bypass this, you add a course. You say that, okay, cross origin resource sharing. Okay, someone has, okay, added. So some on your website, you say that I'm going to add a course which basically says that, okay, ut.com can access abc.com. Like, in most simple possible way. Sorry, I was messaging someone on Discord who had pinged me in personal with regards to the stream. Uh, but yeah, that's the most basic thing to understand. And yeah, I think that's easy. ut.com initially is not allowed to access abc.com because that's just not allowed. But because your website blocks it, your browser blocks it. But then if you add course on the server side, you say, okay, ut.com is allowed to access abc.com. Solves the course issue. Some servers do not implement it. So when you try to access or send a request to those servers, they return, your browser says request blocked, course failed, okay, course not allowed, something like that. Okay. uh, but websites which want to allow, they add course to their code. So now let's add course to our code. So again, it's very simple. Thank God for libraries. So on line number 2, I'm going to add all the libraries on the top. You can call it const course equals require course. Now we have not installed this library yet. So what we are going to do, we are going to later like stop and rerun, and it is going to install. So right now you will see everything is failing. So let's actually do that right now. Let's stop it and let's run it again. Once you do that, now there's no error and course has been installed. The course library has been installed. And how do you use the course? So after you have defined the app, okay, you can also take the port up. Okay, because again, constant. After you have defined the app, you can do app dot use. Okay. So app dot use, again, an inbuilt functionality of use, and you can say course like this. And just by doing this, you are allowing another website to access your server. Okay. You have solved the course issue. Yeah, just like as simple as that. Any questions about the course thing? By default, ut.com is not allowed to access abc.com. If abc.com adds course, ut.com can access abc.com. Any questions apart from this about course? Okay, someone joined in late and rebrief. Uh, well, it what we have done till now, we have basically started building a Express API, and in the Express API, we have just understood how to add Express, how to add course, how to send a request to any URL endpoint that you tell it. Just understand that if there is a matching URL, the first one takes precedence, and that response is sent. That's easy. And other than that, there's a question: what are prop slash attribute for course? I'm sorry, I don't understand that question. uh, App.use helps in adding middleware, yes. And okay, perfect. Now the next two things that we want to add. Now why am I adding all these things? Because we are going to just copy this and paste it once, as soon as we start creating the job board API. Okay. Now, another thing that we want to add, now that we are doing the app.use, uh, you can also do app.use, and inside that you can define express.json. Now, what is this? Okay, so now express.json, this someone used a word later, middleware. So middleware is basically you get a request, you want to send a response, but in between you want to do some extra stuff. That is what a middleware means. You get a request, you are going to send a response, but in between you want to, in the middle you want to do something before you send the response. That's what the basic meaning of middleware is. Now, this app.use express.json, this middleware, it allows you to parse the incoming request which has JSON payload. Uh, what is JSON, what is payload? We will see that once we make something called as a post request, or yeah, a request which has a body. But for now, just understand that there's something called as a JSON, uh, which is curly brackets, key, colon, value. That's how it looks like. Okay, it looks like this. A JSON looks like curly brackets, there's a key, and colon, there is a value. That's how a JSON looks like. And this line, it tells Express that you should be able to parse JSON. That's the first thing. Okay, the next thing is URL encoded. Okay, let me. Hmm, okay, cool. Let me now add, no questions here. So the next middleware that we are going to add, it's called as URL encoded. And what is the meaning of URL encoded? It basically, you do a app dot use, and you do a express dot uh, URL encoded, and then you add this curly bracket, and you say extended colon false. Okay, I okay, this comes in a bracket also. Yep. So this is the line. So let me just share these three lines in the chat. Hopefully they should be able to go. Uh, yep. So just add these three lines. What do they mean? So you understood what is course, you understood what is JSON. Now URL encoded basically says that in a URL, okay, sometimes URLs are have space, like let's say there's a space in the URL. So a space is translated into percentage 20. Okay, so URL encoded, it tells Express that if someone is trying to access a URL or trying to send something which has space in between, or they are trying to send, instead of space they are sending percent 20, you should be able to parse it. And this extended false, what does that mean? So for parsing that, if don't use any other library, use the inbuilt simple library for parsing that URL encoded uh, request. So URL encoded, think of it as that special characters, they are converted into your basic characters which is understandable by everyone. So a space in the URL is converted to percentage 20. uh, I think, like, yeah, there are multiple characters, special characters, which are converted into different numbers. Perfect. So that is what the meaning of this is. URL encoded. I think the spelling is right. And then there's the extended false. So do not use any external library for doing that. Use the inbuilt basic library. So please add these three lines. And now that we have done all of that, we are good on this basics. Okay, our basics are now complete. Let me just remove random gibberish which is not going to work, and my new, instead of URL, this is my new route. And instead of this my new route. Okay, so this is what our final code looks like. I have just URL encoded, getting error. There is express.url encoded. There's a bracket. Don't forget. So if you copy paste what I shared, I think that should work, because if it's working for me, it's like it works on my computer thingy. Okay, perfect. Uh, there's this format option here. So once you click on that format option, if it passes, that's good. If you are getting format failed, you can just do a reload, hard reload. Okay, so do a Control Shift R, or you can do a Command Shift R if you're on Mac, and that should basically solve it. Okay, just format it, because just like make it look good. That's it. Uh, and this is our final code. Any questions till now? Perfect. Working for a lot of people, and yep, I think that's good. Let's move on. Now I'm going to rename this. I'm going to rename this to Z dash index. Why? Like that. No particular reason, because we are not going to use this. We are not going to create a new index.js file, and we are going to use the new index.js file. If you create a new index.js file, you will have the old code which will be pasted. Just remove all of that. Actually, don't remove. Sorry, my bad. Don't remove all of that. Uh, just delete this uh, three routes that we had, and this is what we should be left with. Okay, no output, nothing, and on the right hand side you should get this cannot get slash. Okay, in the web view you should get cannot get slash, which basically means that there's nothing for the slash. Now starts the real part. Okay, why what do I mean by real part? I mean, now that we have learned the basics, we have learned what is express, what is course, and all those things, we are now going to use this knowledge to build our job API. Anyone who joined me late, just remember that we are building an API which is going to send uh, jobs. Okay, send jobs means we are going to add the data, and it is we are going to query that URL, query that route or route, and it should give us some response. If we query the home route, it should just give us some text. If we we send a get request for all the jobs, it should show me all the jobs. We send a get request to get one job, it should send me one job. If we send a request to delete a particular job, it should delete a particular job. We send a request to add a new job, it should add a new job. Okay, so where should all this happen? In a file. So first we will what have we done till now? We have created a new index.js, we removed everything that was there, like all the routes that were there, and this is the bare minimum that we are left with. Now let's create a JSON file where we are going to store all the jobs. So let's call it jobs.json. Simple. Okay, jobs.json. What is this file going to do? This is going to hold our data. Now we are going to create the data manually by our own hands. So let's start doing that. And it's pretty simple. We first create this square brackets. Okay, there's a question, is there different? No, there's no difference. It's just like what you prefer. So there's this thing called as, I can share that with you all. Uh, Prettier. Okay. So prettier, it allows you to prettify. Okay. Add those semicolons and add, like, follow a consistency in your whole code. That's what prettier allows you to do. Okay, it has a set of rules that you should only use double inverted commas, you should use this much space, and you should, if you have like big words, whatever. So what I generally do is, let's say if a replet's uh, code formatter is not working, I copy it, I go to that link that I shared and I'm highlighting prettier.io/playground. I paste it on the left hand side, and on the right hand side it shows me a prettified version of that, and I just copy paste it here. So yeah, it that adds all the consistency that yeah, is being talked about in the chat. It's also a VS Code extension, yes. But since we are using Replit, I was not going to go to VS Code. Like, I'm too lazy that way. So I just use the prettier online version. Okay. This structures your code in a good way. It's like readable, gives a flow to it. Okay, coming back to our code, let's create the JSON object. Now, a JSON, okay, JSON is JavaScript object notation. uh, Again, everyone came together and they decided that we need to follow a particular format of sending in the data. Okay. uh, we want the data to be rich, but at the same time we want, like, everyone should be able to understand. All the browsers were like, hey, we are running JavaScript on the browser side, we want the data to look similar to a JS object. And they said, okay, let's call it JSON, where the difference, like, while there are multiple differences, uh, in the layman terms, in the most layman terms that I can explain, in a JavaScript object, you basically define a variable. Let's say you say const my jobs equals to, and then you add this. And in, again, in a JavaScript, the key does not need to have any, should not be a string. It, like, it's just understood it's a string. And you can go like this: ID this, and company uh, MLH, something like that. Okay, this is how a JavaScript object looks like. And a JavaScript object notation, which is a JSON, it does not have this here, and it is compulsory to add inverted commas for the key as well as the value. If the value is a number, that's fine, then it's okay, you don't need to add inverted commas to it. But if it's not a number, if it's yeah, if it's like 1 this, then you need to add inverted commas. So this is the, like, most layman term I can say, the difference between JavaScript and JavaScript object. And this is how we are going to create. So we'll start with uh, id 0, just so that it's easy to understand. We'll have id 0 company. Let's say company is for, like, first company is MLH, and there's a job title, it's front end developer. There's a posted on. Okay, this is a, let's say, a date, so 2023 dash 12 dash 08. Okay, just something random. And there's location. Okay, so location, let's say it's remote. This is how it looks like. uh, Ensure that you don't have a trailing comma here. And again, to format all of this, as you can see, there's no option to format it. So you can open a new tab and go like JSON formatter online. Okay, so just Google for JSON formatter online. I found this JSON formatter.org. So I'm going to copy whatever JSON data I had, paste it here, and click on validate. Okay, not validate. Uh, okay, JSON beautifier. Okay, sorry, my bad. JSON beautifier, this, and beautify, and this is how it looks like. I mean, it looks same only, but yeah, you can copy this. So let me just share this quickly in the chat. If you want to beautify the JSON, okay, beautify the structure of the JSON that we are creating, you can use this website. Just paste it here, click on the beautify option, and gives you the output. Let's come back to our this one. So this was ID 0. Now I'm going to copy the object inside. So I'm going to copy from this curly bracket to this curly bracket, start and end, add a comma, paste it here, add a comma, paste it here. Now ID 0, ID 1, ID 2, company name, there is MLH, there's ABC, and there's ABC. Job role, let's say there's data engineer, and there's uh, backend dev. Dates are like random. Okay, this date is 2020. Let's keep it real. 8/12/2022. This is 01 and 24, and this is today's date. No, not today's date. Let's go with 03 and 19. This one is, let's say, London, UK, and these are the three jobs that we have. Now as you can see, it's not consistent as in the spacing. This is slightly inside and all that. So you can copy this whole thing, go to the website that I showed you, the JSON formatter, click on beautify, copy that back, and paste it here. Now it's formatted like the spacing that's consistent. It's just like some people are too much into consistency. I'm not too much into it, but I just want it to look good and nicely formatted. Perfect. So we have created the JSON objects, our data for the JSON. We have created that. Or since we have the data, now we can start working on requesting this data. Let me also, like, you can add anything that you want. Let me copy this and let me try and paste this in the chat. I don't know if it would be too big. Sometimes if it's too big for the chat, then it gives an error. Woohoo! Twitch was able to handle it. That is nice. So just copy this data. I have shared it in the chat. Very big, but that's okay. This is our mock data that we have created. Copy this and create a file called as jobs.json, and inside that paste that whole thing. If you want to want it to look beautiful, you can go to the previously shared codebeautify.org/json viewer, and paste it on the left hand side, click on beautify button, which is big blue, and on the right hand side you will have a beautified version of it. Okay, so that is what we have done till now. We have created data for all the jobs. Now step 2, once you have done all this, let's come back to our index.js and let's create a route. Route number 1, it would be a simple get route, which would be like on the base URL. It takes a request and it gives a response and it sends. So res dot, remember I showed you about the status code, like 200, 304 and all those things, 404. So we will also send a status code. This dot status of 200 and dot send. We can send a string. Let's call it job board API. And once you have done this, on the right hand side in the web view, you should be able to see the response, the job board API. Okay, we are good till now. Now let's create the second part. Now I want to see all the jobs that we got. I mean, I want to see that whole JSON. So I want to create a route for it. So let's call it app.get and let's call it slash job. Again, it takes in a request and gives a response and this. And now we have rest dot status uh, 200. But what should we send? We should send the whole file, right? We should be able to send the whole of the file. How do we send the whole file? Well, it's pretty easy. Like, yeah, pretty easy. Let's do it. Uh, Step number one, we have to first read the file. So we are going to use another library, which is actually inbuilt in Node.js. So I don't think it gets installed. It's called as FS library. And we will do require and FS. So this library, it allows you to read a file. Which file? In this case, it would be jobs.json file. Line number, in the next line, we are going to say const JSON data. This is fs dot. We can do a read file sync. Again, this is a method on the fs library and it allows you to read. Let me also remove this highlight. So yeah, code should be visible. So what we have done, we have on line number 3, we have added the fs library which allows you to read the file. Why we are reading the file? Because we want to send the whole file as the response, as the JSON response. So fs dot read file sync, and we will do dot slash. Why a dot slash? Because it's in the same directory and it's called as jobs dot json. Okay, and oops. Jobs.json, and what is the type? Now, unicoding, again, a very big concept. And what, like, I'm not going to dive deep into it, but just understand that we are using UTF-8, which is one way of how data, like how characters are read. Okay, there's UTF-8, there's UTF-16, and yeah, multiple like that. So we are basically reading the jobs.json file, which is what we have created. A dot slash, it says that in the same folder, in the same directory, find this jobs.json file, read it using UTF-8 format. Okay, let's add a semicolon. And once you have done that, you can do a const job data. You can call it anything. Let's call it, or okay, let's call it job data. Job data equals to JSON dot parse, which is basically telling that read this JSON file and parse it into a JSON format. Parse it into a JSON format. Parse it into this read file sync. It's going to read the file and it's going to give a response, and this line, it converts that into a JSON format, JSON file. Because read file sync gives, I think, uh, I think it gives a blob, and this one converts it back to a JSON. Let's add this semicolon there. And now on this line number 18, we had rest.status. And now we are going to send the whole file, which is job data. Cool. So a ton of hard work that we have done here. We'll click on this open in new tab option. Once you click on that open in new tab option, you should come to this particular page. And on this particular page, like now in the URL, okay, wait, I will have to share everything once again. So let me just stop sharing the problems if you don't have uh, extra screen. Yeah. So, oh, forgot to add it to stream. Perfect. So now that you look at it, this is what you should have. And what was the route that we created? It's called a slash job. So we will add that slash job, and there we have it. We have the whole data coming in. Okay, the whole of the JSON data. We can see that right here. Perfect. So I think this is the best time to take a break. And okay, there are a few errors in the chat. Const fs syntax missing initializer or declaration. You are missing a equal to there. So const fs equals to require fs. Okay, so as you can see, we are able to go to this route and get all the JSON data that we needed, which I think is good, a good start. Now we are going to like stop this stream here. I am going to stop sharing, and I'm going to, we're going to stop streaming right now. After 1 hour, it's again my stream. So I'll welcome you all back after an hour. And in that stream, I got the same result when I didn't use json.parse. Is that right? Uh, I think it is right, but we need the json.parse because once we start doing multiple requests like post request, delete request, we need to write to that file. So that's why I think it's good to have it there. Okay, at 4:30 IST. Yes, at 4:30 IST, I'll be back and we'll continue on this. I know it took it a bit slow, but I hope your basics are clear. You know how to start it. And now it's all about JS manipulation, JavaScript manipulations. We'll now send request to query for one single job. We'll send request to query with query parameters. Okay, query parameters which will allow you to basically search like, okay, ID this and name this, company name this, whatever. Then we'll try to send a post request where we'll send in a body and we'll get it. And yeah, all those things will delete a particular object, a JSON object from the jobs.json file programmatically. Okay, we'll send a request and it is going to delete it. We'll send a request to add a new one. We'll all do all those things in the next stream. So see you all back in an hour. Any other questions? So there's an error here. I'm getting an error, parse error on line 21. Interesting. Huh, my line 21 is empty. I can. So please make sure that the jobs.json file that is perfect. And can you share your REPL? Uh, is it okay if I share it after my second stream, please? Okay, I shared a big chunk of text and that's not going in. But Mickey was talking about looks like you have an extra comma in your JSON file. Yes, please make sure that there are no trailing commas in the JSON file. Let me actually quickly share that and show that. So here, as you can see, since there's no data after this remote, there's no comma. Similarly, there is no data after this remote, there's no comma. Since there's no data after this object, there's no extra comma. Okay, so trailing commas not allowed in JSON, and I forgot to add it to stream. So smart. Okay, I was talking about this part. uh Location remote, there's no comma after this because there's no, like there isn't any key value pair after this. Similarly, nothing here. And after this whole object, there's no extra comma because there's nothing after this. So trailing commas, after this location, no comma because there's nothing after this. So extra commas not allowed in JSON. They are allowed in JS, which is good, but not allowed in JSON. Okay, dog. Now I'll leave you all to it. See you back in an hour. Stretch, have water, walk around, and see you back in a bit where we'll complete this. See ya. Bye bye.